Slot, and this is the hot seat.
Hey everyone, we're in the hot seat on a Media Monday. In a minute, I'm going to introduce today's guest. His name is Tony Taurisano. He is a traffic light collector, and he also digitized a 1952 radio show made by Lou Burrell. We're going to talk about that in a moment. We'll play parts of that. But first, here are some headlines in local arts and entertainment news. Cinema Capital will have a special 2024 trailer preview show on Thursday, April 25th at 7 p.m. This event is free, and you'll get to watch all the trailers from some of the upcoming films and get to vote on which ones you would like to see shown at Cinema Capital. This weekend, their movies are going to be American Dreamer with Peter Dinklage and Shirley MacLaine, and Love Lies Bleeding with Kristen Stewart. Show times are 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. on Sundays. Dunham Public Library in Whitesboro is holding a Tolkien scavenger hunt from Monday, May 22nd, so that's next Monday until Saturday, April 27th. The activity is centered around J.R.R. Tolkien's book, The Hobbit. Participants will be encouraged to use their imagination and creativity to complete some challenges. The more outside the box solutions, the better, and you can win prizes too. And Treehouse Reading and Arts Center will be having a visit with Mario of Super Mario Brothers. That will be on Thursday at 4 p.m. at the Treehouse Reading and Arts Center in New York Mills. So, our guest today is Tony Taurisano, and I met him a few years ago. You live in Westmoreland.
Correct.
And I met you because you're known for collecting traffic lights, and
Sure.
you restore them, and you display them, you have them hung in your backyard, and people have a lot of questions about those. I have a lot of things I got to ask you about that.
Okay.
But first I want to talk about some of your work. Digitizing and restoring old media for the
Yes.
Oneida County Historical Society. So why
Correct.
don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my grandfather used to be a photographer, and
What was your grandfather's name?
Dominic Bellino.
Okay.
He had a photography studio on Bleecker Street in the 1930s, and he ended up moving to Nichols Street in Utica, where he was there until he died in 1996. Over the course of his lifetime, he made a lot of home movies, and I was the keeper of the old movies after he had passed away, and I decided to try and digitize them. So I did a little bit of research, found a machine that would do it, and I was able to convert them all to digital.
So these are these called Super 8, or these are the old movies, like real, they're like on actual reels, actual film?
Yes.
Yeah.
These are 8mm. There is also Super 8. I don't
Oh.
have any of those. But he took all these movies, and the earliest one I have is like 1942.
What's in it?
My mother, my grandfather, my nanny, who was my grandmother.
Yeah.
They were playing in the snow on Bleecker Street, driving around looking for a house.
So, what's involved in digitizing these? Are films that are that old that they're like very delicate? I imagine, right?
Some of them are. These were actually in very good shape. They probably were played many years ago, and they've been just sitting in a box.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you put them on a DVD, or just put them digitize, put them in the cloud, or on
The machine
online?
will make them into an MP4,
Oh,
which I use that, and then I just upload them to YouTube and put them on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, and can you give us the address for your YouTube channel in case people want to check that
Tony
out?
Taurisano.
Tony Taurisano. And there's two of you.
I'm
There's
not
Italian
the
singer.
Italian singer. No.
So what I'll do is when the show is done, I'll put in the show notes a link to where you can go to your YouTube channel. I think I already have that too on uticaphoenix.net/Medium Monday. But also a hint, if you're looking him up on YouTube, type in Tony Taurisano, and then after I type in Utica or
Traffic lights.
traffic lights
Or Tony
helps.
Traffic Light. You'll
Yeah.
find me.
So you'll know right away which is the person. So tell me a little bit about this tape that you found. It's of a radio show, and it was from May 29th, 1952.
1952. Yes, I found that. My dad passed away a couple months ago, and we were cleaning out his house, and I came across this along with some DVDs of some pictures that he took, and I had no idea where it was from, that it was even there. So I did a little bit of putzing around and was able to find through the History Center, through Patrick Reynolds at the History Center, he had a tape player that I could hook up to my computer and I could play the tape and get
It's a treasure. It
really
really
is.
is. Because like you find out about like what people were watching on TV and what they were seeing at the movies and boxing matches and
and the
how,
price of a pizza was $1.
exactly, and that there was a dispute about who brought pizza to,
Yes.
to Utica first. So
Yes.
we're gonna listen to a little bit of this tape now. I'm gonna play. This is the intro, and for people that are familiar with Lou Burrell, you'll recognize his voice. And what impressed me about this so much, he recorded this in 1952, so he was like about 5 or 6 years out of high school. He was into his career at WTLB and WIBX and WKAL, but so polished and so talented, and just really get a sense that this was a guy who really knew how to broadcast.
He had a very
was
distinctive voice.
He really did, yeah. So let's hear a little bit of this. I'm going to play it on the YouTube tape and hold it up to the mic here.
Hi everybody, this is Lou Burrell. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This is May 29th, 1952. The temperature outside is 60 degrees and it's cloudy and rainy out there. You're listening to radio station PROX, high above Hilton Avenue in Utica, overlooking beautiful, scenic, and picturesque Starch Factory Creek. We got you here today because we're going to listen to the top 10 tunes on this May 29th, 1952. The top 10 tunes that you requested by your card, letters, and phone calls. And the first tune on our Proctor Hit Parade is done by Eartha Kitt. It's a great big Say Sigon, number 10 this week.
So WPRX doesn't actually exist. So we think it probably was like a student radio station, or maybe something.
That's
he
what I
did as a
assume it was
gift.
the radio station at Proctor.
Yeah, because he's talking really to the students, kind of the graduating class, and he references that people called in with songs or sending cards and stuff. So let's skip ahead a little bit. We're going to hear where Lou is talking in this part. I think this is a part about the. I think this has to do with. This is like the headline news of the time. Then, as now, food prices were going up. So in this segment, he talks about how Harry Truman, who was the president in 1952, was trying to deal with the high price of food. So here's Lou Burrell again.
Here's some of the headlines making the news on this May 29th, 1952. Niagara Mohawk announced today that it has received permission to extend gas heating to some new customers. The federal government has clamped down on further extensions without permits to conserve the supply of natural gas. And nationally, President Harry S. Truman today says that food will cost more this year of 1952 and has asked the Atomic Energy Commission for a $3.9 billion expansion program. And in political news, Senator Robert Taft of Ohio today was given a slight edge over General Eisenhower in the South Dakota primary for the Republican nomination for president. And locally, the Club Riviera over on Riverside Drive is now featuring Trudy Wayne, and the Silver Rail announced that it will have 2 shows nightly. A lot of big things happening here in the big town of Utica, New York. Okay, continuing with our countdown, let's move on to the tune that's number 9 on this May 29th.
So the big town of Utica, New York, that was some of the news. And just like now, food prices are going up. I'm not sure really what the Atomic Energy Commission could do about that, but President Truman wanted them to do something about it.
Yes.
So maybe grow some food with nuclear.
I hope not.
There was a Gilligan's Island episode where they have.
Yes, there was.
That's when I heard this tape, it's all I could think about. So tell me a little about what was the dispute back then, 72 years ago, about pizza. While you're doing that, I'm going to cue up to our next segment here where Lou talks about that. There were 2 restaurants, Grimaldi's and Oscanit's, who could not agree on who brought pizza to Utica first.
was probably Oskanitz, I would imagine. They were right down the street from each other, also.
And according to their website, I did check this out. According to their website, the founder of Oskanitz, and his name was Eugenio Berlini. He does take credit for claiming being the first one to bring pizza to this area, so good for him. But at the time, though, the owner of Grimaldi's, Fred Grimaldi, he had something to say about that. So let's hear from Lou about the dispute over who brought pizza to Utica. This would have been 30 years before 1952, so we're talking about the early 1900s here.
Eugene Berlini of Oskanitz fame is taking credit today on this May 29th, 1952 for introducing pizza to the Utica area 39 years ago. He says he charges 10 cents a slice and $1 for a large pizza. Well, Fred Grimaldi has taken issue and said that he was the one that introduced pizza to the Utica area, but he's afraid to sell it in his Grimaldi's restaurant for fear that it would declass his establishment.
Grimaldi's was a classy place back then.
Number 8.
I know, it's hard to believe that someone would have thought that pizza would be... I wonder if they sell that now. Now, is Grimaldi still around? Do
No, they closed maybe 10 years ago. Grimaldi's was a high class.
Oh, it was.
It was a high class place.
So not really a pizza place.
No, not at all.
Well, maybe they should have been. Maybe they still be around. If
They were only like a block away.
From...
Maybe 2 blocks away, yeah.
Oh, so it was like a real competition there. When you made this tape, what surprised you the most, or what did you hear and think, "Oh, that's really cool. That's worth. I gotta save this."
That was probably one of the best parts right there.
Yeah, I kind of love that.
I would love to get a pizza for $1 and a slice for 10 cents.
I know. It'd be great to hear those two like duke it out over who brought pizza first. You know.
Oskanitz is still there though.
It is, so I think that kind of maybe answers the question, or at least like they sold it. They didn't feel like they were going to declass them, you know. So now Lou also talks about, he has some more business news and also talks about some of the things that are happening in the culture at the time. So I'm going to skip ahead here to 7 minutes and 44 seconds. If you're listening at home, I'm doing this with my husband's phone right here, so it takes me a minute to scroll down. 7:44, and here's some more from Lou Burrell from May 29th, 1952.
Fred Grimaldi has taken issue and said that he was the one that introduced pizza to the Utica area.
Let me go up with
large pizza.
While we're getting this queued up, why don't you tell me, were any of the artists in the top 10 in 1952 familiar to you?
Rosemary Clooney was in there.
I was gonna say, we all know who that is.
Yes.
George Clooney's aunt.
Eartha Kitt.
Eartha Kitt. I was kind of surprised that there were people at all that I knew. That
But I know her
in the top
more
10.
from, she was Batwoman for a while.
She was, yep.
On the real
She was
Batman.
Catwoman, right?
Cat,
On
Catwoman,
the original,
Catwoman,
yes,
sorry,
yes.
Yeah. On the real Batman.
And in her song, you get a sense of that, like, you know, kind of purring sexiness that she has. And her song was number 10 at that time. So what went into the process of you, like, finding this tape and making this tape into something that could be digitized and saved? And
I think I actually got lucky that I was able to find something to be able to digitize it.
That's, you know, there's a tape that I have somewhere, and I wish I could find this. It was from like 1997, 1995, and it was a cassette tape. There was a time that it had been Rock 107, and it became Hot 107, and they had like top 40 music and stuff. And someone bought this station. This is like, I wonder if anyone remembers it, but someone bought this station, and they were going to change the format completely and get rid of all the DJs. And so the DJs like barricaded them. They all went down there. They like barricaded themselves in the control room, Hot 107, and they were like kind of like under siege and like not wanting to give up, relinquish the station and getting all the listeners to come down. And it was the most amazing thing. Like I remember I recorded it. Back then you used to have like appliances, tape recorders, radios that went underneath your cabinets.
Yes.
There were coffee makers like that
Yes.
too. They stopped making those because they would warp the wood. But we had one of those radio things, and I recorded this, and I had this amazing tape, this pop culture archive. And when I think about it, I can visualize it in my head but I have no idea where that is.
If you ever find it,
You'll be the
give me a
first
call.
one that I call, because that was quite an amazing, exciting thing. And it's like you can look up these things that happened in the past, but to hear someone talk about it in the moment, it's just like.
The only thing about the tape is cassette tapes weren't invented until 1962. So I
wonder what it was on that your father taped it onto the cassette.
I think it was probably, he was in the class of 1952 at Proctor, and he was, for many years, he was in charge of the reunion each year. So somebody must have
Perhaps
made
it
this
was-
for him, and
Oh
he ended up with
yeah,
it.
right,
But-
right.
but it must have come from tape somewhere.
Well, it's really an amazing thing, and it really is a
It's in
treasure.
very good
so
shape,
glad that you
too.
did this. It certainly is. So we're going to go to break now. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about the Lou Burrell tape, and then we will get to answering. You'll get a chance to answer some of the questions people have about how someone becomes a traffic light collector. Or with the Hot Seat Media Monday at 95.5 FM, The Heat.
Hi, this is Cassandra Arislava, and this is the Hot Seat.
Hey everyone, you're in the Hot Seat on a Media Monday with Ron Klopfanstein, and this week NBC Theater will present 3 short plays by American playwright Thornton Wilder. For each of these one-act short plays, they'll be directed by a student. So one of those students are Gianna DeBella, who will be directing Love and How to Cure It. But also there'll be Queen of France, directed by Kelsey Zimmerman, and Such Things Only Happen in Books, directed by Rachel Hartman. Now you can go see these shows at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday the 18th, or Friday April 19th, same time, and 2 p.m. for matinee on Saturday April 20th. Tickets are $10, but they're free if you are a student of MVCC. Players of Utica is holding auditions for Kinder Kranken House on Saturday, April 20th from 10 to 4, and on Sunday, April 21st from 1 to 5. Now, they're specifically seeking neurodivergent actors of all ages to play these roles because the theme of the play kind of has to do with that. So, and you could go see a play at Rome Community Theater this weekend. The Murder Room will be presented on Friday, April 19th, and Saturday, April 20th at 7:30, and at Saturday and on Sunday at 2:30 in the afternoon. Tickets are $20 for adults and $15 for students. And I'm joined in the hot seat on Media Monday by Tony Taurisano, and we're talking about this tape that he made, that he digitized. He found this tape. It belonged to his dad, and he digitized it, and it is from May 29th, 1952, and it was hosted by Lou Burrell, who's kind of very well known around here for many years. He was a broadcaster with WKAL and WIBX and WTLB. Yep. And so in this tape, we listened to a little bit about it in the last segment, but what's going to come up next? And what does he talk about next?
He's going to start talking about sports. There was a Proctor grad who I believe played for the Boston Red Sox.
Boston Red Sox, yeah. Lou was always such a big supporter of the area and people from the area. So you can tell in this clip we're going to hear how excited he was that somebody from Proctor was playing for the Red Sox. And here's Lou Burrell. I'm going to hit play.
And I thought you'd like to know that Proctor High School graduate Ted Lepsio is playing an outstanding game of baseball for the Boston Red Sox. Nice going, Ted. Keep up the good work here. Really showing it up for Proctor High School wherever you go. Now here's a bulletin just handed me. Okay, good news. Proctor High School today won its 10th straight baseball game without a loss, beating New Hartford 8-4. Jim Canistra went 3 for 4. Nino Trumpio went 3 for 3, and Bull Fabio went 2 for 2. Babe Canistra got the win. Our hats are off to that great Proctor High School team. Nice go.
So it's, I think the kind of thing like that, like the details of like who got what hits and stuff, that's the kind of thing that's so easily lost to history.
Exactly.
And, it's so amazing. What are some of the other things that you do down there for the history, Oneida County Historical Society?
I'm working on their website right now. I'm going to be hopefully digitizing some more of their 8mm movies that they have. I did do one last weekend. Trolleys used to run throughout Utica. That was kind of a great find.
And you see that in the film that you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was on it until I started looking at it, and it's going to be really nice when they release it.
So, what is the website address for historical?
Oneida County History Center.org, I believe.
HistoryCenter.org, and like the films, so much of the work that you're going to do for them will be on their website, so
Yes,
people
correct.
can see the stuff. And
Yeah, they're also uploaded to their YouTube channel.
oh, good, and we'll
how
put
old
links
was
to
he in
that.
52?
How old were you in 52? Because
Me?
Sandra's asking.
I was -10.
I was gonna say I don't think you was born yet.
That was the year my dad graduated.
Oh, from Proctor?
Yes.
Cool.
And I was -17, I guess. I was born in '69. So how old were you? Were you
I was a
born?
baby. I
You
was
were
a year old.
baby.
I was a year
Wow,
old.
a year old. So 1951.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So what is it about history that interests you? Why do you do
I've
this?
always liked history of this area. I can remember so much that used to be here.
Yeah. Now, are you from Utica or from West?
I was born in Utica.
Okay. And were you always interested in the history of Utica and the area? And
I've always had a thing for it, yeah.
what do you think is like one of the most interesting things or people that happened in this area? Like when you're like looking up history stuff, if you want to recommend something people should look up to find out how this area had such rich history, it was so cool. What's something that they could look into?
I'm a big fan of what used to be downtown with the Bag Square area and everything like before the auditorium was there. The Erie Canal used to run down the Oriskany Street.
How is it different than it is now?
How is it different? It's most of that stuff is gone.
So the Erie Canal ran down Oriskany Street?
That became Oriskany Street.
Really? Wow.
The
So
original Erie Canal.
the canal that we still see that you drive over to go down to like North Utica, that would be the Barge Canal.
That's the new canal. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what did they fill it in and make it into a road?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow. And downtown used to be filled with stores as well,
Yes.
too.
Correct. Yeah. Downtown was the hub.
It's kind of hard to imagine that. Did you ever like shop there? Do you have any memories of like shopping downtown?
I used to go to the Boston store with my nanny or my mom.
You know, if I could go back in time, that's one thing I would really like to see is the Boston store. Because I've always liked retail myself, and I've always been interested
I'd
in
like
that.
to see the old traffic lights that were in Utica.
I'll bet you would. And we will, I promise we'll talk about traffic lights in the next segment. I want to play one more clip from Lou. But also, you know, I think about, it's really hard to imagine like a time when downtown was filled with stores and shoppers and kind of like the way that we think of how malls were. That I remember malls in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Did you
and
go to
stuff.
My Boy Shops?
Everybody went to the mall.
My Boy Shops? There was a store down there. My
Never
Boy
heard of that
Shops.
I remember going to Woolworths downstairs, having something to eat. Go
I
to the
remember
Boston
Woolworths
store.
too. What was the Boston store like?
It was a department store, probably like what like Kmart ended up like. They had a little bit of everything in it.
But it
Oh,
had
that's what it was
floors.
like. More
It
like
had floors.
They had
Yes,
floors.
multiple
Yeah,
floors,
right. So this next segment, Lou is talking about TV shows, and what were some of the what's popular shows you talked about in May 29th,
Howdy
1950?
doody.
Doody, of course. So let's hear what Lou had to say about TV in 1952.
At this time, we'd like to kind of bring back some wonderful memories here and call on Professor Roland Thompson to
Oh, this may not be the
tell us
right
about
part
some
here.
good sports news.
Let's hear the sports news since I got this queued up here.
Tomorrow, the fourth period, there will be an assembly.
Caramel corn.
Congratulations to the basketball team for their hard-won victory over St. Francis last night. That keeps us in competition for the city championship. And also because Whitesboro lost to UCA in the upset, we are still in competition for the
Catholic
United League
Academy? Those are
championship.
girls.
Okay, there's only one reason here why the
Before
Proctor
they split
athletes
off to
get to be as
Notre Dame.
tremendous and strong as
My
they
sister
are,
went
and
to
that's
UCA.
because they
It's
get
all
their
girls
wonderful
then.
build-up in the Proctor High School gym from our beloved coach, Phil Levis. So let's get a little glimpse of that right now.
Forward long. Keep it straight now. Look to the right. Right, class, halt. Hurry up there. Get in line, Phil. Right face, right face. All right, as you were. As you were, staying as you were. Let's go there. Come on. Remember the...
So how amazing is this to like actually hear from the coach? You know that
It really is great.
it really is. I mean, Blue put together a really good show here, and like it's great what you did with this to make this available because there's really no other place I think you could hear the voices, and I assume that was the principal Proctor at first.
That's what I assume, yes.
Because he was talking about how they had won, they beat St. Francis, and they were still in the championship. And
St. Francis isn't there anymore. UCA isn't
Right.
there anymore.
I know it's hard to believe too that there were so many athletes that they could have like different teams in each of these schools, and like now it's like even a single school has a hard time raising enough people for this.
Correct.
So, yeah. So are you going to be looking for like more tapes and audio? Do you think there's more audio files out there like this, or
At my dad's? I know there's
Yeah.
some at the History Center.
are you going to digitize some of those too?
I would like to.
They probably have like a stack of things they want you to get to.
Yes,
I would
yeah, there
imagine,
is.
so. So what is it about like what interests you about media? Like why do you think media is so important? I mean, I agree with you. So why take the time to like make this stuff available or preserve it? Or
A lot
digitize
of
it?
those old things many people have never heard. They've been packed away someplace for Lord knows how many years. The trolley movie that I made, the History Center got it in 1967.
Wow.
That's when they were in the basement of Munson Williams.
Oh, the History Center was there originally?
Mhm.
Now, was this movie that you did? Was this like a home movie, or was this like an actual movie?
I think it was a home movie that somebody made.
This one made of the trolleys and stuff.
Yes.
Where did the trolleys run?
Trolleys ran all around what was Bag Square, Main Street, Whitesboro Street, ran all the way up to C Street, all the way up to New Hartford.
Oh, really? They went
And
that far?
There was another line that ran all the way to Clinton also.
Oh, and at one time, I think there was a line that ran all the way to Oriskany for Summit Park.
Yes,
There's a theme
yes.
park. Maybe all the way to Rome, and then you could stop at Oriskany.
There was another one that ran up Bleecker Street to Forest Park. Forest Park.
What
which
was
is-
Forest Park?
That was kind of I believe it was like a crude amusement park.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that.
It's where Chicago Pneumatic ended up, where Diorio's is now.
Oh, okay.
Next to
I
the
didn't
Sonic
know
Hall.
about that. I knew about Summit Park, and that's something I wanted to write
I think
about.
it was
sometime.
something the
Something
same like
similar
that.
to that. Well, I mean, back then you wouldn't travel much, so like you'd be looking for something to do on like a kind of like a vacation, but kind of being at home and not having to go too
Right.
far. So
Staycation.
a staycation. Well, yeah, I don't know if they would call it a staycation
I
yet,
like
but
that.
that would be true. So all of this work you're doing for them is so important, and it does preserve stuff
I really
that
enjoy
would be
it.
lost. I'm sure that they enjoy, this too. So, what are some of the things that they do at the History Center, other than you? Like, what is the Oneida County Historical Society? What do they do?
Well, this past weekend they presented a movie made by Dennis Dewey. He told a story about farming in Oneida County, which is very interesting.
No, was this a movie that was like an old home movie, or like...
No, it's a new movie that he made.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Like a documentary, or
correct.
And like, where can people see that online, or is there something
That will
that's-
end up being on the History Center's YouTube channel very soon.
And I know that you guys have like a really good museum there, like almost like you have displays.
Yes,
and-
there's a display right now of from the Saturday Globe. There's also
Oh, tell me about that.
the Saturday Globe.
Yeah.
Saturday Globe was the first color newspaper in either the United States or the world.
Really? I had no
right
idea.
down on Whitesboro
Mhm.
Street in Utica.
They tore down the
Wow.
building too.
So
Yes.
was this like a precursor to the OD, or
No, the Utica Observer
was it at the same time?
was at the same time, and there was also the
Daily Press.
Daily Press, and I believe there was
Oh,
also
Daily
the
Press.
Utica Dispatch.
Really?
So,
So,
Utica
like at one
Dispatch
time.
and the Observer, Utica Observer merged to become the Observer Dispatch.
Oh, that's how it got their name.
think if I remember my facts.
That is a
correctly.
cool story, but also in a way kind of sad to think like how what the OD is like now.
It
Is
was
so
also the Daily
small,
Press
you know.
too. That's
Right.
where
I remember that.
where ICANN is now. That was the Daily Press building.
Really, no, like I remember that we used to get that when I was growing up because in West Berlin, I think the afternoon paper maybe
Late,
took
right.
longer to
Yep.
get out to the towns.
Yeah, there was a morning paper and an evening
It's
paper.
morning paper and an evening paper. Now there's like, it's too bad in a way that media is not is supported or is vital as important. Well, newspapers, I would say, as they were then. At a time people would wait for the paper to come and see what's going on.
That's where you got your news every day.
You got your news, and now it's like, well, it's they're holding in there, and of course I wrote for the Sentinel, and I enjoyed that, and it's like I hope that these things last. We got to go to break, so when I come back, we'll have some more entertainment news, and we will talk about restoring, collecting, and displaying your traffic lights. You're with the Hot Seat Meeting Monday at 95.5 FM, The Heat.
Harris Lockwood, and this is the Hot Seat.
Hi everyone, this is Ron Klopfanstein. You're at 95.5 FM The Heat, and this is a Media Monday in the Hot Seat. So I have some news. This weekend at the Tram, there's a lot of stuff going on. On Friday, there is the Fish and Friends Comedy Showcase at 7 o'clock. Tickets are $8 and are available at the door. On Saturday, you can go to the Tram and play Dungeons and Dragons from 4 to 9 p.m. The fee to play is $25. Pre-registration is required. Players must be 17 years or older. Also on Saturday, Tammy from Oh My Fabulous Dog will be on hand with a pop-up sale of her dog treats and her car fresheners. All that's happening at the Tram. And Robin Raby, who owns the Tram, will be my guest next week on the Hot Seat Media Monday. But my guest today is Tony Taurisano. And now, tell us about how you collect traffic lights and what you do with them, and what it is about traffic lights that you're so enthusiastic about.
My mom said I always stared at them when I was a kid. For Christmas, when I was 4 years old, my uncle asked my mother what I needed for Christmas. She says, make him a traffic light. So he did. He made a little crude traffic light out of wood. So I got my first traffic light when I was 4. Next time I got a traffic light, I was 53.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So what is it about them? I know sometimes it's hard to explain, but
I've-
what is it you like about them?
I don't know. Some guys collect baseball cards. Some guys like old cars. One of the guys that likes traffic signals.
I've always liked them too, and I remember when I was a kid, I had a Fisher Price one, where like you would turn it, and then as you turned it, like whatever side it faced, like the side it was facing at the moment would go from like green to yellow to
I had
red
one
on
of
the
those.
backside. I remember that all this time. Now, when I was growing up, my thing was telephone poles, like the power lines, the telephone poles. I used to love those. So I never thought about collecting one, but I'd like to have one. So tell me, how did you go about getting your own traffic light? How does someone do that?
The first one I found, it was on eBay.
On eBay?
In 2015, yeah, somebody was selling 3 pieces, a red, a yellow, and a green section,
And how much did it cost?
$75.
Wow. What do you have to pay to have that shipped?
It was somebody in Utica. I went and picked it up.
So tell me, how much your traffic lights weigh?
Some traffic lights, the really old traffic lights from like the 20s and the 30s, they can go upwards of 100 pounds easily.
See, I thought it was a lot more than that. And you actually like restore yours and hang them up.
I actually counted this weekend before the show here. I have 36 altogether
On display?
on display.
Wow. And they're all in your backyard, right?
No, there's only 4 in my backyard.
Okay, and somewhere in your garage.
The rest are in my basement.
And do they all work?
Yes, they do.
Now, how long is a traffic light like on a color? Like, how long is traffic light green and yellow and red?
It depends on the intersection. They can be programmed to do pretty much anything. But
Okay.
The standard is to be on the yellow phase for 3 seconds
Okay.
before it switches to red.
And how long is it on red or like green?
It depends. You can program it to do whatever you'd like to do, but it just depends on how busy of an intersection it is.
So, like with some intersections, I would imagine, like if it's on an intersection of like a major road and a smaller road, like the smaller road probably gets green for less time.
Correct.
And do you know how to program them? Well, you must, right?
I can program some of them. Not the newer complex ones. I can't do those.
So with like the older ones, is that what is mostly your interest? The vintage ones,
Yes.
the retro ones.
Yes.
So like, is there like a computer inside of them, or a timer? Like, is it like say if you had a, how old is your oldest one?
The oldest one I have is from 1925.
So if it's 1925, would it be computerized at all
No,
at
sir.
that point? So was it like
That
work
one
like
actually
a clock or?
That one actually had like kind of like a clock to control it. I was able to find a 1925 controller also for the same traffic signal.
Oh wow! So you by controller, did this go inside of it, or was this an external?
It's an
controller?
external.
And so, like, how would back in the 20s, like, even back before computers, like, would someone from the city or the town, like, actually go to each traffic light and check the timing and
Yes, they would.
really?
It was
And
very, very, very crude, but it got the job done.
it got the job. And so, what goes in, like, once you buy a traffic light, like, you bought this first one, what shape was this in?
It was in pretty good shape.
So it didn't take too much work
No,
for you to
not at all.
restore it. What are some of the ones that required the most work? And like, what did you do to restore one?
I usually leave them in off the street condition. Some of them, the wiring in them has been in there since they were made in the 1920s, and the wiring tends to fall apart after a while. So I just rewire them, leave them everything else the way they were with dirt on them, whatever. And
Oh, really? So like, you don't repaint them or anything?
No,
so
I
you leave
don't.
them as they
some collectors do. They'll make them
brand new again.
look. Yes, exactly.
But you like to keep them as how they really are.
Yes.
So,
The weathered look.
I was gonna say, because like they're exposed to the summer, winter, fall out there up in the air and stuff like that. What is like your favorite of all the ones that you have? Like, what are some of your favorite ones and why?
Favorite ones, I have 4 of them that are from the village of New Hartford. One was by St. John's Church. Another one was in front of what's the high school now. I passed both of those many times when I went to elementary school in New Hartford and went to church at St.
Oh,
John's.
some memories.
And there was another one on Genesee Street that was at the crosswalk. When I went to the Point School in fourth grade, the crossing guard who lived next door to me used to let me press the button to make the traffic light turn,
Oh, cool.
so kids could go across the street. And I
Yeah.
ended up with those. Those are the ones in my backyard now.
How did you end up with those? Like, how did you know that they could be bought?
Somebody told me about those signals, and I went and approached the village of New Hartford and bought them all.
So, like, someone told you that the village was planning to decommission them, and then
They had them stored for like 4 years.
And so, like, when you do you just like call the mayor of New Hartford and say, I heard you have these traffic
I
lights.
talked to
and
somebody at the
storage?"
village DPW who was in charge of them.
And then, what process do they have to go to make it like put a price tag on it and deal with
I
the?
told them how much I'd give them for it, and they said okay.
They said okay. And like, about how much are they? Like, if someone was interested in buying one, I'm sure they range in prices, right?
They're much more expensive now, but those I paid a few $100s for.
And were they in working condition when you
Yes,
got them?
yes.
So, what is it that makes a stoplight or a traffic light be taken down and what? Why are they? Why is one decommissioned? Why would one be decommissioned?
They were modernizing the signals here in the village, there in the village of New Hartford, so they put up some new signals.
To make it more like computerized, or
Yes.
So nowadays, are traffic lights all like kind of like somehow like connected through the cloud or something, where the
No,
city
not necessarily. Maybe some of the ones, maybe some here and there are, but most of them aren't.
So they kind of just go like on their own, like every minute they turn this.
Yeah,
color,
on the corner, there'll be the traffic light, and there'll be a wire going to a control box somewhere on the corner there. That's what actually controls the light.
Which probably makes sense, because this way, like, if one goes down, you don't want all your traffic lights in town to be.
Right.
What do you have? Like, do you like traffic lights that have like the added features, like a right turning lane signal, or do you have any favorites of?
Yeah, I made a replica of one that's on French Road in front of Shenanchers.
You made one.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I used some ingenuity, and I found a traffic light and got a couple parts and pieces, and I was able to make a traffic light exactly like that.
Oh, so like you started with another like older one that
Yes,
was broken
exactly
down.
the same as
and
what is there. Yeah.
And what is about that traffic light that you wanted to replicate that?
I've seen that traffic light since I was probably 5 or 6 years old.
And
It's still there.
It's still
It's
there.
survived the old Shinatries, the new Shinatries, and everything else at that intersection.
So have you let the new mayor know if it ever goes on the market that you're the one who wants to buy
I tried
it?
that a few years ago.
And what did they say?
They need all the parts and pieces.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Do you find that like cities and towns are like, are they eager to sell their own traffic lights?
Some of them are, yes.
Do some of them? Have you ever been met with like someone who was like, well, "What do you want that for?" You know, like,
Yeah, I get
what if
that.
you're planning some kind of major prank
I
with
get
the
that.
roads?
But people also, through my website, people also email me and say, "I have this traffic light. You want it?"
Really? So like they want you to take all their old traffic lights in? Do you have a hard time saying no?
Yes.
I was gonna say.
I could never move because my basement is full of traffic lights.
So once you got one and like you got a home, how do you wire that? Because I would imagine you can't just plug it into a regular wall outlet. It must be extra electricity or extra
No,
voltage.
they
or...
run regular electricity.
Really?
Yes.
So they're just like any other light then.
Yes.
So you just plug it like the ones you have at your house that work. You just have them plugged into an outlet.
I actually have them plugged in. Some of them are plugged into some old traffic controllers that used to be in the city of Utica. That I was able to acquire.
Oh, so you have some controllers too.
Yes.
So, like, if you could have any stoplight right now, other than the Shinatries one, what are some of the other ones that like would be on your wish list of I gotta get this stoplight or this traffic light if it ever goes up for auction?
There's one on Albany and I don't think it's Wetmore.
And what is it about that one? Like, what is it about the one in Albany?
It's a classic Cross-Heinz signal that was made in Syracuse.
You know, I've seen you talk about Kraus-Heinz and stuff on Twitter and stuff, and like, what does that mean?
Cross-Heinz, they were the manufacturer of traffic signals.
And they were in Syracuse?
Yes.
So a lot of the traffic signals that we have in this area, like, are they still in operation?
There's still some left.
Kraus-Heinz, so
Yes,
I mean the
yeah.
company. So
City of Utica was predominantly Cross-Heinz traffic signals.
So are they still making the traffic lights?
No, they're not.
Are they out of business then? Or?
They do just electrical supply.
Oh, I see. So, but like the other ones that we have in Utica now, or that are like in
It's a
this area?
mishmash of stuff I don't want.
But it's like old Kraus-Heinz stuff.
There's still some old Cross-Heinz stuff.
So
Yep.
is Kraus-Heinz like the best one?
No, there's they were one of the big manufacturers on the East Coast.
So like, are they particularly like well built that you like to collect them, or is it because of the fact that they were local?
I like them because they're well built and because they were made in Syracuse.
Now, did you ever get to go to the factory and get a tour?
No, the factory closed in the mid '80s, I believe.
Oh, it's too bad. So you never got to.
No.
Have you ever been to a place where they make them now?
No.
No.
I have to go to Mexico to do that.
Oh, is it all like international now? But you said traffic lights now are not. They're not as metallic as they were. They're
No,
made of
some of them are
and stuff.
plastic. They're made out of aluminum. Some of the old ones I have are cast out of steel, so that's why they're very heavy.
Oh
or
yeah.
cast out of aluminum.
Probably really durable then.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, my oldest one is going to be 100 years old pretty
And it's
soon.
still going.
Yep.
When do you know when traffic lights first were around this area, like when they first started to use those? I would think probably early 1900s.
In this area, probably in the mid 1920s.
Now, what did people do before them?
There would be a traffic cop in the middle of the intersection.
So for busy intersections, they'd have to have a cop posted.
Yeah, there'd be somebody like at busy corner. There'd be somebody in the middle of the intersection.
Wow. And before that,
But most of the
people
other
just-
intersections, it was just
whoever
take a chance,
got there
take a
first,
chance,
and it was before the rotaries there,
Yes.
Now, do these plastic ones do they hold up as well as the steel
No,
ones?
not really.
So are cities like buying and turning them over more often?
They
now?
usually break.
You know, it's funny because you see sometimes like in heavy wind, like traffic lights just whip back and forth.
Yeah,
and
there's nothing to them.
that must be why, because they're lighter, so the wind would take them. What holds them up? Like a heavy cable, right?
Heavy wire going across the intersection.
And what do you need in your like backyard to hold them up? Like what kind of poles? Do you
I have a couple of 6x6 holes in the ground. They're like 4 feet in the ground.
They go down 4 feet.
Yeah.
Are they like cemented in too, or?
No,
hold
I
it
have
up?
some guy wires that hold them up also.
And that holds up.
Yeah, it's all authentic stuff that they're hanging on.
Oh, I see. Because I saw them once, and I thought it was a telephone pole that you had there, but it's like a kind of similar to that. Like
I have a new and improved thing.
Oh,
I'll
you
back it
do?
up, yeah.
Okay. So, do you like the plastic ones? Is that something you ever want to
No,
collect?
I don't want
No.
those.
So you just want the old vintage type ones.
Yes.
So,
yes.
are all your traffic lights from this area, or do you have some that are from like other parts of the country?
Probably half of them are from this area. I have them from. The furthest away I have is one from Atlanta, the Atlanta area. I have them from Cleveland.
Now, what would make you decide to buy one that comes available that's from from far away? Because you want to have.
It was
the
something
emotional-
desirable, something I didn't have.
Like how so? Like what is the difference between traffic lights?
Well, there's certain manufacturers back in the early days. Their traffic lights were kind of
Oh,
unique,
okay.
kind of like cars. How Ford is a Ford.
What
Looks like
was
a
unique
Ford.
about it? Like how it worked, or the inner mechanisms, or the
No,
the,
just the look of them.
the way that
The way
that
they
they
yeah.
look.
The way
Seems
they're
like traffic
manufactured.
lights used to have like more. They were like more ornate. Like they used to have like kind of like a cover above the light, kind of like a sun visor. You know,
Yeah.
they don't seem to do that nowadays.
No, they're
So
pretty plain now.
they really are. Do you have any from our town in Westmoreland, or?
No,
We don't turn over traffic lights
No,
much.
no.
For most of my life, I think in Westmoreland, at least when I was growing up, we only had the one light on 233 in Main Street.
in Main Street,
So
yeah.
we were
That was
a
there when I
traffic light
moved there.
town. Yeah. Yeah, it's only like recently, relatively, that we've had the ones.
Yeah,
that
they
we
put the
want.
new ones up by the thruway when they did.
When they redid the throughway, they put the throughway exit. And I think the second one probably was the one that is on Cider Street in 233. It's probably the second one in town. But
yeah.
I remember a time when we didn't even have those. So now, if people are interested in your traffic lights, tell us where to go to your YouTube channel, and I believe you're on Twitter as well. So
Yes.
where should people follow you if they want to know more
Well,
about
you can check
your
out my
traffic lights?
website. It's TonyTrafficLight.com.
That's right, you have a website too.
Yes.
TonyTrafficLight.com.
Or my YouTube channel, Tony Taurisano.
And what is your Twitter account?
Trophy guy.
Trophy Guy. We'll have links to all that on our show page. Thank you for being here today. We're getting
Thank
ready
you.
to head over to the J Easy with the Easy Ride Home. People are always asking me, what does your station play? What kind of music does your station play? And I always tell them, well, you know what, you should turn it on at 95.5 FM yourself, and you'll hear what we play on our station. But if we can ask Jay Easy here, who's going to take over, he's going to come on next to talk about what he's going to play, so you can listen on your ride home from work. He'll have rap, R&B, hip hop. Jay Easy, Jay Easy's working on getting his playlist, I think, ready to go at 6 o'clock.
Picking a song, yeah.
Picking out his songs here. So
just one I wanted to.
Oh, just
get
one.
into for tonight.
Oh, okay, great. So, and every week, every Monday, I'll be here in the hot seat with a Media Monday, and we'll talk about, I have a different guest who is doing something with arts and media and performance and plays and music and art, and we'll also have on our website uticaphoenix.net/Media Monday. I have information about our upcoming guests. Robin Raby from the Tram is my next guest. It'll be Monday, April 22nd at 5 o'clock. And of course, you can stream us at 955theheat.com. And Jay-Z, are you ready to? So what's coming up next?
Easy ride home.
Going to hand the mic over to you then. And
Okay.
thank you for joining us here in the hot seat on Media Monday. I'm Ron Klopfanstein, Utica Phoenix Media, 95.5 FM The Heat.